Now, some we've heard, some we haven't heard. And we're calling this the Ewing's Honor Southfork's Legacy. So, of course, I have to bring to the stage, as Bobby Ewing, he married Pam, he romanced Jenna, he was shot, run over, died, came back from the dead in a shower, married April and finally Anne. He's the White Knight of Southfork, Mr. Patrick Duffy. Ewing, she evolved from Miss Texas to lingerie mogul to a candidate for governor of the great state of Texas, Ms. Linda Gray. Krebbs, he went from ranch hand to millionaire Ewing heir. Mr. Steve Kanaly is with us. Kanaly. I think I've gotten that like many times.
It rhymes with shillelagh. It's Kanaly.
Steve Shillelagh, ladies and gentlemen. Steve Shillelagh. As Lucy Ewing, she hopped from Ray to Mitch to Mickey to Casey, among many, 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 many others. Ms. Charlene Tilton. And when Dallas was rebooted in 2012, John Ross Ewing was reconceived as a bastard, just as dirty as his daddy JR. And the man to do it was Josh Henderson. Okay. Now, I personally believe that Christopher Ewing is still alive. I don't believe that final scene from the TNT reboot. But long before adult Christopher Ewing blew up in a car explosion, the young character was played by this little tyke, Joshua Harris, his return to Southfork. A little bit of time. Oh my goodness, this is so fun. So fun. All right. So, I want to first ask, just coming back here, many of you have come back repeated times over the years. What's the feeling now in 2024 when you arrive on this land that has become a mecca for so many all over the world?
Gratitude.
Absolutely. All of you, just tell me the thoughts that go through your head.
I'll tell you one thing I've been doing all morning is I ask everybody where they're from. And so far I'm up to 17 countries, and really a lot of people from Pennsylvania and Ohio. and many people that I talked to drove more than 1,000 miles to be here. So that's one of the most impressive parts. And it's very nice to see you all again in this setting. It feels like you're part of the family. Yeah, there you are. Way to go.
Hey.
Happy birthday.
Charlene, what about you? When you arrived through that arch, the Southfork sign above you, what do you feel now in 2024?
I think Patrick summed it up beautifully. It is gratitude, and I'm loving hearing everybody's story about how they were drawn into the show, they started watching it with their parents, or how they became fans and they're rewatching it again, or they're just discovering it for the first time. I just love it. We truly are, as Patrick said, so thankful for each and every one of you being here. It means a lot to us. It really does. We love you all. Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Which one? Henderson.
This is, I was born in Dallas, and when some of you may have heard this story because I've told it a lot, but my meemaw is this was her favorite show. She loved to hate J.R. Ewing. She brought my mother on board at a young age, and my mom brought me on board at a very, very young age. And when I heard the show was coming back, I've been an actor in LA for about 10 years, and I heard Dallas was coming back, and I said, oh my gosh, I have to, hopefully, if I can be blessed enough to be part of it, I have to try to get on the show. And sure enough, I somehow was lucky enough to land the role of John Ross, son of J.R. Ewing, and it was just, it's incredible. There's nothing, I don't think there's anything in television history that touches the spirit that Dallas does and Dallas has, and we're just so blessed to be able to meet you guys today and spend some time with y'all and be back here where it all started. So thank y'all for being here.
And the other Josh H.
What's the question?
Just what your feeling is when you see the pearly gates. Yeah, you drive through and see the house where you grew up. Really,
Is this thing on?
it is.
I've said this to check. See, they turned my mic off already. That's a bad sign.
You're the Joan Van Art seat. She was having the same problem, so we got you a good one out.
Yeah, so I've said this story maybe a couple times, but I haven't been back here in over 30 years. So I'm just really anxious to kind of have a walkabout and just see if those memories flood back. I know the smells are the same, I was joking about. But the house and, everything that you guys see, that was part of my childhood, really. So I've also said that, half of my life, by the time the show had ended, half of my life was on the show. So I wasn't in as many episodes as these guys, but I did my fair share, and it's always going to be rooted in Southfork and my childhood. So yeah, just really excited to be here and be a part of this, to be honest.
And at our age, you gotta stop referring to them as the pearly gates. Just saying.
I may have an ulterior motive wink there, which I think you're aware of, but it's a hint of things to come. But yes. So listen, I have seen every episode of Dallas. And when I was going through clips to select for all of you, one stood out. You're not all in this, but one stood out. Just it felt so quintessential Dallas, and I wanted to start by showing that first clip.
Hey, I want to talk to you.
Daddy, I've got a meeting to get to and I'm late already.
Now, JR, tell Bobby what you just told me.
Well, you and Cameron such a rush to get out of here last night. You didn't tell me all the details of that sweet little deal you pulled off. A couple of phone calls, I found out.
I'd have told you. All you had to do was ask.
Well, I'm asking, did you sell off Ewing assets to buy that refinery?
Well, I had to. It's the only way I could make the deal.
$100 million of Ewing property. Why in the hell didn't you check with me first?
It wasn't time, Daddy. I had to move fast.
Move fast. So fast you didn't have time to talk to me?
Daddy, I have landed us a refinery. Now, we lost a partnership in the Mainwaring refinery last year. I didn't plan to lose this one.
Borrowing money from one hand to pay the other isn't good business, Bobby.
It is good business. I can triple the output of that refinery.
Since when did you start thinking that you're the only Ewing in oil?
Since when don't you approve of a good business deal?
Any time that I don't know beforehand, that's when.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to my meeting.
One of us is going to have to do something about it, Bobby.
I just can't believe Bobby not talking to me about this.
Get totally out of hand.
One minute he's leaving Southfork, and the next he's handling Ewing affairs on his own.
Miss Ellie, I can't believe that Bobby's carrying on this way.
What way, Sue Ellen?
J.R., his own brother, almost died. And now Bobby's trying to cut him out of the business.
Sue Ellen, you know very well that's not what Bobby's doing.
No, then why did he buy that refinery without even consulting J.R.?
He's running the business the way his daddy asked him to.
Miss Ellie, You are siding with Bobby against JR, and I don't think that's fair.
They're both my sons, Sue Ellen. Don't forget that. I don't. I won't have Bobby leaving Southfork again, for any reason.
Takes you back. So, Patrick, Linda, Steve, Charlene, even though you couldn't see that, you hear those voices. And I want to ask, when you hear Barbara Bouvet's voice, and Jim Davis's voice, and Larry's voice, what comes to mind?
They were, in my opinion, three of the greatest actors on television at that time, and not necessarily recognized as such. You have Barbara Bouvet is one of the, incredible film star, New York stage star. Jim Davis had been in everything that I'd ever seen on television. And Haggy, there's Major Nelson in a cowboy hat. But the amount of talent that they could put into a simple scene was amazing. And to hear them all now and know that we were blessed by being in their presence is another reason why coming back here is important to me, because it also honors them.
Steve, Charlene, what do you want to say about those three incredible actors?
Those three were just like Patrick said. They were iconic. They're so memorable. They just are in our hearts. I remember the very first day I met everybody. We all walked into this little room in Burbank, California. And I met Larry, and I looked around and I thought, there's Major Nelson. I looked at Patrick and I thought, there's Manson Atlantis. I looked around the room and I knew Jim for emergency, Jim Davis. And I thought, this is interesting. What kind of truth could this happen? They put all those people in the same series. I had no idea. And then I looked at Barbara Bouvet and I thought, wait a minute, something's changing here. This is a classy, fabulous woman at front row, and no from the Broadway shows, and also Hitchcock shows.
Yeah.
I remember her dearly in a wonderful Hitchcock. She was going to kill him. She had a Lego brand and she killed somebody.
Yeah.
Put it in the freezer. So there was one, I forget it. I didn't know Charlene. She was 17 years old. I didn't know Steve. But all of a sudden this room became eclectic. And Larry had over his shoulders saddlebags filled with champagne. And that's how we became bonded. But when I realized that I was in the presence of real things, I was in the presence of these wonderful human beings who had entertained people and were in the process of entertaining people, I think, for a very long time. And those people that are no longer with us are still with us. What is this? Now I have two. I'll take anybody. Anyway, I'll make this short. Anyway, to work with those incredible people was really, that's the gratitude. And I'll be forever grateful, as I'm sure we all are.
Charlene, I guess I'll ask just kind of a different version of that. How long did it take for you guys to go from co-stars, actors, to a family? How long did it go from you being just a bunch of characters, actors playing Ewings, to really feeling like the family that you became?
Well, I think, it goes back to Larry. there we had a concept that we had this ensemble, and each of us had power to reach out to media and to be available for every kind of approach, for writing, for television, for radio, and we could promote this show. And he actively, nudged us all to go in that direction. So you have 10 or 11 people out doing that, going in all different directions, working as a team. And that was the beginning of it, I always thought. And it was always a very inclusive company, and everybody had, a place, and it was appreciated. And that was not always the case on a lot of other television shows that I had worked in my career. So I appreciated that very much.
Charlene, you have any memory? Have a memory of Barbara, something of Miss Bogetti's?
With Barbara, when we were first filming and we were staying at this hotel that wasn't particularly glamorous, but
The Royal Roach.
the Royal yes, it was called the Royal Coach, we called it the Royal Roach. And Barbara's room was across the hall from mine, and it had a bed, and that was it. And I would sit literally at her feet and just have her tell me over and over again stories of being in New York and acting stories and what it was like and going to sorries and different things about being on the stage in New York. And she would just regale me with her stories. And I've told this before, but one time the phone in her hotel room rang, and I said, I am. So I answered it because we were in the Royal Roach and said, hello, Miss Bogetti's suite. And is Barbara there? I said, who may I say is calling? And I screamed. And she said, what's wrong? Who is it? I said, it's God. She said, God. And I said, yeah, Tennessee. It was Tennessee Ewing.
Amazing. Amazing.
And she said, talk to him. I was too shy. I didn't. And he said, oh, put it on the damn phone. And I wouldn't get on the phone.
Well, since you brought up the Royal Coach, Royal Roach, your accommodations improved. And when you mentioned the story, you reminded me of a story last night, how you actually ended up living with the Ewings in real life for a little bit. You moved into a place and then you were followed by other people who moved into the manor.
Yes. Thank you. What a great memory.
It's a great story.
Okay. Is that by facing the microphone?
You are poison to a microphone.
Okay. Well, we first arrived. Now, as I was saying,
It's a good story to like. Thank you, everybody.
all right, well, we first arrived in Dallas, Texas. None of us had been to Dallas, Texas. And so Patrick had a home because he had his children. Larry took a home, and it was very fancy, with a swimming pool and all that. And I decided, I thought, wait, I'm a single woman, what am I going to do? My children were in school in Los Angeles. So I thought, okay, somebody said, why don't you just go to the mansion? And I said, what is the mansion? Anyway, they took me there, and it's this beautiful, beautiful hotel. Very small hotel. So I decided that would be lovely. So I took a little one-bedroom, little tiny room, and it was beautiful. It was quiet, peaceful, and they had my car ready in the morning because we got it very early. Anyway, so it was this lovely space. So one day, Mr. Hagman called me and he said, Maya and I, his wife and he, were going to come over and visit me and have lunch. I said, great. So Larry and Mai came to visit me at the mansion. Now he took one look at the mansion. The mansion, which is quite grand, quite beautiful, quite peaceful, quite lovely. He moved into the presidential suite the next day. That ended my quiet. Everything was done. It was over. The next week, I think, Barbara Bucket has moved in. Next week, Ken Kershaw moved in. And I thought, what just happened to this peaceful, wonderful environment? Anyway, it was chaos from then on. It's still beautiful.
No one told me I was still at the Royal Rooms. What the hell?
Mr. Henderson, when you hear the voices of those who came before you at the very start of this whole saga, since you inherited the mantle from Mr. Hagman, what goes through your mind when you realize just the long history that predated your birth, I believe?
Yeah, it's what's funny is you were just playing that clip, and I actually thought it was Larry, but it was Jock, right? They sound like
Jar.
That was Jock, right?
Jock and JR was also in it as well. Yeah.
I mean, I knew that it was a big deal just way before. Like I said, I watched it as a kid, and never did I think that I was going to come back home and actually get to portray the son of J.R. Ewing and get to play ball with all these beautiful, incredible people. And so I knew that I was in for a ride because when I met Larry, you had Jesse Metcalf and me standing next to each other waiting to shake his hand. And Jesse played Christopher Ewing, and he was great. And we had
So was the other. Christopher Ewing, also related.
He's great. Well, he did too. But it's, Larry goes, which one of you's playing my boy? And we both looked at each other and I said, I am. And he goes, you must be a real ton of a bitch. I said, well, he goes, you got big shoes to fill, kiddo. And I said, I cannot wait. I'm so blessed to be here. Thank you so much. And then pretty quickly we learned that we just had a ton of fun together. It really, really worked. And I was in awe when Larry walked in the room. You felt his presence. You didn't have to see him. And he really set the tone for, I think, bringing the spirit of Dallas and the original, kind of bringing it all together and making it just such an incredible experience.
Well, Sue Ellen never stopped keeping tabs on who was the rightful heir to Southfork, even when little John Ross was all grown up. So let's have a look. This is from the reboot.
My father's the firstborn son. I'm the firstborn grandson. Bobby's not stealing our birthright. If you hadn't hidden me away in boarding school all those years, my father would have taught me the oil business as he assured me he would. And I would be running Ewing Oil today instead of that idiot Cliff Barnes having stolen it from us.
John Ross. I know I have made mistakes. I shouldn't have used you against JR. But for what it's worth, I have changed. Listen to me carefully, son. I know you are disdainful of my connections, but they are powerful. Think of me as an ally. I can help.
The previous panel it was called The Sultry Sirens, and we were talking about how Cherie's character evolved so much from a little vixen to a perfect wife for Bobby. Sue Ellen, also an incredible evolution from when we first met her to how she was portrayed, how you portrayed her on the reboot. Tell us about how you refound Sue Ellen and how you intentionally made her a different woman, even a role model.
I loved Sue Ellen from the very beginning, and I remember early on looking at JR. In its scene, I had no lines. And I remember Larry was talking on and on. And I remember looking up at Larry, thinking, who in the hell would marry this man? That was the beginning. And I thought she had to have had a few problems going into her life to end up with him. And that's how my mind went on. I thought, okay, I got to find Sue Ellen somewhere. I have to really create a woman. And the writers were, you know, it was a different era back then when the writers were writing, especially for women. It was really a man's show. And when they started writing for women, they didn't really know, loved them all, but they didn't really know what a woman was, what to do with her. She was okay, she was like this, she was that. And then so as society was coming along, and they had Sue Ellen drinking and having affairs. And drinking and having more affairs.
And we loved it. We loved every minute.
And it was just this on, and I finally went to them and said, hey, she does more than that. Women do more than that.
Did you feel that with Cynthia in charge of the reboot, was there more of a sensitivity in writing for women, did you feel? Did they get who Sue Ellen should be as opposed to the scripts when it was run by old men?
Yes, I remember. We were so thrilled to have Cynthia. Cynthia Sidri was wonderful. And it's sort of a new hit on the reboot. It was a new energy was born into that time. And so she was really a life. And I remember she and I had lunch before we started, and I said, you know, Sue Ellen has really changed. JR has not so much. Bob Patrick's always the good guy, always, and a wonderful good guy. But I said, Sue Ellen has to be different. Why don't you have her run for governor? And she stared at me like, what? I said, no, she has to be somebody that knows a lot more than JR does at this moment, 20 years later. So she accommodated that and said, well, you can't, after a few shows, she said, you can't continue because it's in Fort Worth or it's in...
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense. I have a little confession, and I don't think I shared this even with you, Linda. I was a TV guide when the show was brought back. I was an editor there. And I did get close with Cynthia and Mike Robin. And they were telling me that they were having an issue with Mr. Hagen signing on. He was a great negotiator until the very end. And they had told me there's no way that we can do this without JR. But they put a story out. It wasn't from me. It was in the trades that they had an alternative. They were looking at alternatives to having a show without Larry. And I called Larry. I don't know if he missed the news that day. He's like, oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. Thank you for letting me know this. A day or two later, the deal was signed. So he made the deal to come back, but I'm sure he got a great one. I mean, nobody can negotiate like he did. And how long was he gone before he got his new contract after we shot JR? He was in Europe for, I think, 4 shows. Wow, yeah. So anyway, small role I got to play. He would have ended up there sooner or later, but maybe I made it just a little bit faster. He had to be there. Well, I tried to find clips that we haven't seen over and over again, but there was one clip that I couldn't resist showing today. So let's have a look in the hayloft with Ray and Lucy.
You know how close that was?
We weren't close at all. He'd never come up here.
Well, I tell you, if he knew, he'd kill me.
Well, I ain't gonna tell him. Hey, who's number 1, Ray? Her or me?
Come on, Lucy.
She's probably real different, right?
Look, I gotta go.
You ever call her Lucy by mistake?
No.
That'd be funny. Call me her name.
No.
Do it. Call me her name. again.
Grandma. Grandma.
Give you porn. Now, I'm going to put someone on the spot. Josh, who runs the amazing Ewing Barbecue podcast, he wanted to see if you might just recreate the last few words. Let's start maybe if you're up for it. Charlene, you just say, did you ever call her by name? Just
She rehearses this all the time.
I couldn't remember my lines then. How the hell am I going to remember them now?
We got a long way with a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, we did.
And you look at that and I go, this is a 17-year-old or a 16-year-old
I was
person.
underage.
And then obviously raised in his 30s or something. People they don't make shows like that anymore, I hope. But, you know, that was episode 1. And you know, we had an English director. What was his name? Does anybody remember? Robert Day, thank you. And, you know, I have this preteen practically upstairs to do this love scene with. And it was a cold, freezing day.
So cold.
And, you know, that performance, it holds up. I mean, it's pretty gruesome, but, you know, thank you for running it.
Steve, I love it though. I do. I think it does hold up. I love it.
It sure does. Steve, I'll give you a pass, but Charlene, can we at least hear call me by her name?
Do it, man. Call me her name.
We'll go with that statement.
Okay, here we go.
Well, Steve, tell us this behind-the-scenes story of how Ray became Jock's son.
Oopsie.
Well, I had other plans. I was not getting enough to do on the show.
Right.
And we were about the 3rd or 4th year, and things were not coming Ray's way, and I had other movies that I was interested in doing. And Larry said, hey, whoa, let's, what can we do to, you know, fix this? And we used to play racquetball together, Pat and Larry and I. And after one of those days over at my house, we talked about it, and he said, well, you know, how about like Romeo and Juliet, or how about like a different son, or he said, you know, you stand us all together, and you kind of look like Jim. You know, and that's where the story got going. And there's a picture that's on sale today of Jim on the ground having been shot. And they were going to say, not the deep dark secret, I got another son. And that was written in the episode. But then the network changed it. And they said, I have another wife. And because Ray was still the history with being in the hayloft with Lucy. So it was just one of those things. But once Ray became a Ewing, then I had a position in the show that allowed me to have better story development, and you know, wasn't left in the dust all the time. So to speak.
Well, let's look at the big family introduction.
Grandma said you wanted to see us all in a hurry.
That's right. Miss Ellie and I had a long talk, and we think that you should hear what I've got to say. You listening, Jar?
Yes, sir.
During the war, I served in London, and I had an affair with an army nurse named Margaret Hunter. Now, when I was shipped home, I confessed this to Miss Ellie. She forgave me for that. But what I didn't know was that I fathered a child from Margaret. I found that out yesterday. I have a 4th son.
Ray.
Welcome to the family, boy.
Charlene, that ended right before we saw your reaction, but it was something I think.
Bobby and JR just saw their inheritance.
Where you're cutting him in, he gets 10%.
I remember that actually there was a moment when Sue Ellen and Ray had a tryst. Do you guys remember that? It was Sue Ellen was throwing herself, I guess at Ray outside his bunkhouse, and they had a one-night stand.
Well, I think she'd been kind of abused mentally and had a few libations. And Ray happens to walk by, and things develop from there. But the next day, Ray goes and says to her as she's by the boat, "Hey, Sue Ellen, it's Miss Ewing."
Oh, so good. And I so remember an episode, I think she may have been also under the influence, but she threw herself at Bobby. And I think she was just feeling, boy, I chose the wrong, it was very brief, you guys never did anything about it, but he set the boundaries, that this is not right, Sue Ellen. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So here's the question. Would you guys have liked to explore a Sue Ellen and Bobby romance?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Well,
We did talk.
You did.
We did talk about it because we thought that it would never be consummate, but we would find out that they were actually somewhat meant for each other. And it was that they could be another perfect couple, we thought. And we thought, how close could we get without upsetting the apple cart with the Dallas theme? And we approached our executive director and producer, Leonard Katzman, and he just looked at us like we were 4 years old. Go to your rooms.
Would you guys have wanted to see that? No! Yes! Divided. Well, Pam wasn't the only woman that Bobby and Ray shared. There was also Jenna Wade, and we have a scene at a classic Dallas fight scene.
What I wanted to tell you about, Bob.
Ray, have you seen those...
Jenna, is this true? You live here? Yes, it's true, Bob.
I don't believe it. You said you wanted to sever all connections to the Ewings. You have a damn funny way of doing that.
What I do is no concern of yours.
No concern?
The fact that Jenna and Charlie are living here is nobody's business but mine and theirs.
The hell it is.
Well, you got a lot of nerve. You leave Jenna to go out and fend for herself, and then you object when I try and help her.
Help her or help yourself?
What?
I just think it's a little strange. 3.5 seconds after your divorce, they move in. You sure you're not trying to make her a substitute for Donna?
What?
Get out of my house.
Not till I understand what's going on.
I said, get out of my house. Hands off me right here.
Stop! Make them stop! For God's sake! Please.
You and him, there's not another man alive that I'd let get away like that.
So I have one more clip I got to squeeze in before we wrap up, but I just want to ask, what was more fun to shoot? This is for all of you. Dallas fight scenes in the pool or the swimming pool Speedo scenes in the pool? Bikini and Speedo scenes.
I like the picture that's on the table out here with all of us in our clothes in the pool. And that was after a Lucy wedding, I believe. And it was one of those summers where it was probably 115 degrees, and it was at the absolute end of the day, and maybe the end of that episode. And there he said, "Come on, we're going in the pool." And we all just jumped in the pool with all of our expensive wardrobe on.
Well, Charlene and Linda, well, the Dynasty divas were clawing each other's eyes out, and every season would be a big Crystal Alexis or Dominique fight scene. They didn't give you cat fight scenes. They let you guys act, I guess, instead. There weren't any big, you weren't ever trying to strangle either ladies. Yeah.
Because you know why, the real reason, because we had out hair and the makeup. It took an hour-ish for each of us, maybe more. It was totally.
Well, I love Dynasty, but where I'm going with this is that they really gave you an opportunity to act, and maybe there's not as much acting involved as there are in some of the scenes. And especially, I want to show one last clip, and Linda, it's you. Although many of you are in it, and in my opinion, it's the most moving and well-acted performance in all of Dallas's history, and. It's a little longer, but it's worth sticking with. you're in it too, and I think you'll agree, Patrick. It's something special. So let's see that.
When I was Miss Texas, and I met JR, I didn't know what hit me. I fell in love. Madly, passionately, hopelessly in love with the most infuriating, charming scoundrel I think I've ever known. It was enough to drive a girl to drink. I spent the night in JR's room last night. I needed the courage to read a letter that he had sent before he died. I was terrified about what the letter might say. So I told myself that I would have a drink. Just one, to help me get through. So I had that one drink. And then I kept on going. I'm a bit drunk now. And I wanted to share the letter that JR wrote. My dearest Sue Ellen, old age has a way of humbling men. For me to apologize now for all the wrongs I've done you would take up all the time I've got left. So I'm hoping it'll suffice for me to say that I was never worthy of you. That I loved you the moment I saw you. And that I love you today more than I ever did. It is my greatest hope in life to earn a second chance with you. So what do you say? When I get back to Dallas, will you have dinner with me? Yes. Yes, JR. The answer is yes. You were the love of my life.
So.
Sorry.
It is time to wrap. I chose that clip because there's so much talk always about the wild cliffhangers and the shower scenes, the explosions, but it was you guys, your performances as actors, which is what hooked us from the beginning and kept us coming back for more and more and more. You are brilliant actors who brought these characters to life, and on behalf of all of us here, thank you for being the Ewings.
I always knew you were out there. Every time we did a show, I knew all you were out there. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you guys so much. So here's what we're doing now. We're gonna start photo ops.